to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
Possibility begins with imagination.
And Dale Hummel.
If something is important enough, you need to do it even if the odds are not in your favor.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Ryan, how long have I been screaming from the rooftops about China's attempt to take over the world?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Since the earth cooled or Eve stole the apple in the garden of whatever?
Not that long. But finally, would you agree? Finally, we're getting some traction in D.C. with the politicians. Fox News is amping up their coverage of China. At least we're getting some red flags up there. And I think part of it is this stupid-ass balloon drew enough attention to it.
I don't think it has anything to do with the balloon whatsoever at all.
I think that
it has to do with the fact that today something came across my newsfeed and I did not research it because since you were obsessed with all things China, I didn't even want to give you ammunition or I knew you would have it.
Well, what is it?
That Russia, there is now evidence that Russia and China are in cooperation in the war in Ukraine.
Absolutely. They're meeting as we speak, I believe.
Yes.
And we send our diplomat over there to warn China that we'll be very angry if they do this. Now, what do you think they care about that? That was so stern.
Look.
So stern.
Literally, Biden takes off in the dead of night, whatever, doesn't tell anybody, goes to Ukraine to write a handwritten letter to your boyfriend that she loves so much or whatever, and doesn't tell Russia till 2 hours before they land. That sounds completely like a great idea.
There's nothing that administration's doing that I can sign off. Nothing surprises me whatsoever. Nothing. Zero. I like the fact, and it's discouraging at the same point, that some of the governors have come out now and banned through legislation any purchase of land by China. I think maybe even any outside of the country entity, which this shouldn't have to happen on the state level. I'm all for it. I think it's great.
I think it's a wonderful gesture.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little late.
Well, no, it's better than not. Why wouldn't we have why wouldn't DC step in and just say, hey, we're shutting down any purchase of any land by China, Russia, North Korea, whatever. And I'm sure they're going to try to find ways. Let's at least make it more difficult. Let's shut down educating all of their students through our graduate programs.
Okay.
Let's shut down.
Can I flip the reverse just for a minute here?
Sure.
So if we do that, and I'm not saying we should, certain countries, I don't think all countries, but if you just named all these countries off, then they're going to do the same to us. And there are U.S. companies that have factories in other countries. There are
especially China.
There are U.S. students that are getting educated in other countries. So again,
I think the educational in those countries is minimal. There are some, and I think we have a lot of factories in China, but I don't believe we can own ground in China. I think it's either a lease or we have to be in a partnership at a certain level with a Chinese national, is my understanding.
I don't know all that.
So but they've already done that.
I'm just saying you have to remember that the shoe works on the other foot as well.
Yes.
And I don't know what the answer is, but I agree that I do not think China specifically should get to buy any more ground. But I think it's a moot point at this because they pretty much bought a lot already.
But it's still, all of the foreign ground is less than 3% still, which is more than it needs to be. But I think we bite the bullet. We're going to have to do it at some point. How can we be I'm going to say it. How can we be at war with China, which I believe we are, not a conventional war. But
not according to your president.
Oh, there's no question that we are, and they're winning.
Not controversy
and
whatever.
They are winning. So we have to be prepared. If we were to shut down a lot of things that our trade with China, basically, and I understand that's an economic monster to wrap your head around. I'm not necessarily saying we need to do that, but we need to be prepared as best we can, which I don't know that we can get there quick enough. But all the essential products that they're manufacturing, they pull the plug on that. It's gonna hurt. If we can't export agricultural products to China, it's gonna. There's a lot of pain coming, but I don't know how to avoid it.
Well,
I'm not a fan, by the way, of China. In case you're wondering.
But you are a fan of that little short man in Ukraine, and so there you go.
I try to wrap my head around whether we support Ukraine to stop the big bully from going further and be the one that carries all the weight to keep democracy alive on the planet. I don't know where to go with that one. I really don't. I don't like throwing more money at it when we're going into debt where we are, but I don't like the fact that Russia could just go take over whatever country they want in Europe, and they probably could without our intervention. So I don't know. I can't. I stopped thinking about it because it'll keep me up all night trying to work out which side to be on. It's easy for you, I assume.
I'm just,
you would shut it off.
I am a very staunch person that we need to worry about us before we worry about other countries, and we have given a lot already.
I agree. What bothers me, I don't mind
given a lot
contributing, but I wish other free countries would contribute proportionally as what we are. Then I would feel better about it.
Well, my whole thing is we've given a lot, and they haven't made any headway. So,
I think the fact that they're still there is a pretty big accomplishment, but it just I don't know. We're just going to change the topic. What about the embarrassment over the last 3 balloons that were shut down? Embarrassment to everybody.
Because they weren't spy balloons and they weren't aliens and they were like, I don't know what. We're still
There's a balloon club. A balloon club. I don't remember the official name of it here in Illinois that sent one of those darn balloons up that we shot down. How can they shoot something down?
It was a campaign balloon for your girlfriend Beetlejuice.
It could have been. I don't know. I really don't. I'm starting to get a lot of snaps with pictures of Beetlejuice now when people are coming in and out of the airport. They know it makes my day. Midway or O'Hare, you can't avoid her smiling face.
I don't like, and no one's going to be able to explain this, and this is why we're not talking about it, but how can we go from, and again, we are supposed to be the leading country in the world in all things. I know we're not, but we are looked at as the leading country in the world in most things. Not all things, but most things. And I would think security would be like up there. We go from letting one balloon that is definitely a Chinese spy balloon float all over our country, and we shoot it out at the end of 8 days over the ocean, to then we're going to shoot every balloon in the sky for like 3 days after we've announced that there's 250 of these things that we didn't know about. Now we're shooting nothing because they're shooting down balloon club balloons. This is just a wreck.
It's an embarrassing wreck. Can you, I guess, and I haven't researched it independently, but I hear China's getting a lot of propaganda out of that. And I don't doubt they're using it as best they can.
I do not know. I think, I cannot believe, like, who, I want the name of the person, because obviously I know that Biden says shoot it down. But who is the person that looks at all this surveillance, all this whatever, and then says, yes, we should shoot down the Illinois Balloon Club's balloon, and goes to Biden? That's who I want to know. Who is that genius?
The problem is these are the people in charge of protecting our airspace, and it doesn't appear as though they're very intelligent.
And we wonder why Southwest almost runs into a FedEx airplane 14 times.
I blame that on your butt plug, buddy, but that's probably being a little harsh. Okay, I have one simple question, and I don't know that I've heard anybody ask this, and I'm going to rewind back to the real China balloon that spent all those days, as you so well stated, going across our country over military bases, all those things. With the abilities we have to travel to the moon, to travel wherever, how in the world could we not get something up there to wherever this balloon was altitude-wise, attach ourselves to it, and bring it down intact so we can fully dissect it? Explain that to me. Why? Maybe the technology is not possible, but I have a hard time believing that we couldn't do that. However, shooting down balloons, we don't even know what they are. Maybe we don't have that technology. I don't know. But it seemed very simple. Let's go up, get the darn thing, bring it down, dissect it, figure out exactly what they've gained from it and everything about it. After we shoot it out of the sky, it drops into the ocean, leave it there for a few days, and then recover it. I don't know that it's quite the same.
Have I been concerned throughout times in my very short lifespan compared to, a lot of things about us being at war and stuff like that and yada, yada, yada? Yes, in foreign countries. I have never really been concerned ever about having a war on our own soil, other than maybe a revolution. But I am telling you, after all of this, and the obviously incoherent people that are in charge of this, I don't think we're secure. I just don't. Like, I'm just being super honest. Like, I don't.
No,
and maybe
it concerns me.
Maybe they can detect missiles and aircrafts. Foreign aircrafts a lot better than they can these other things. But like, seriously, this is one. I mean, the botched Afghanistan pullout and this, like, I do not know an administration that has had so many blunders in national security.
What about the southern border? Throw that in there. You can throw a lot of things in there. Let's use this scenario with our great balloon that we detected and whatever you want to say about it. They claim that device hanging under this balloon was larger than a school bus. Is that how you interpret that, Ryan?
Yeah.
Just think if that was primarily a nuclear bomb. That is large enough. I don't know how much of the United States it could have taken out, but in theory, they could have had that nuclear weapon attached to that balloon. And I'm telling you, a mass amount in something that size to take out a good portion of our country. And we basically did nothing to stop it. They could have done that in theory. Or what about releasing biologicals? Some biowarfare bug. Who knows? It's a mess. Just a mess. Maybe we should talk about something more uplifting. How about
Fetterman?
How about Fetterman checking himself into the hospital?
He's checked into the loony bin for clinical depression. Not a month into his term as senator, and he did this voluntarily, by the way.
Yes, you remember everybody that came out and said how mentally capable he was, even though he couldn't even.
Well, I really think it was just Joe, and again,
maybe
an incoherent, mentally incapable person deeming another person mentally capable. How much stock you going to put in that? I don't know, but
I'm done. None. Zero. But I think it helped him. I think it probably did.
I just don't know. And I mean, again, the people of Pennsylvania, and I don't think the people listening to this podcast voted for that man, but I know Dr. Oz killed puppies, but wow. Just wow.
This is a perfect example of the ignorance in our population. And I apologize if that upsets people, but I think it is what it is. Just call it what it is. That was ignorance, the voting populace that put him in office. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. You have to draw a line when somebody is not mentally capable. And I feel sorry for him. He had I understand all that. I'm not trying to belittle him, but that person does not need to be running for the United States Senate, nor getting elected for it.
Well, that's and again, I've discussed this on here, and I don't think it matters, but I'm saying it again. Again, the reason that the Democrats get as many offices as they do is they don't care who is up for office. They just vote if you got a D in front of your name. Whereas the Republicans, I'm not saying that they vote Democrat. I just don't think they show up. Because
no, I think if they disapprove of a candidate,
then they just don't go. Like, they will not just go to the polls and vote for somebody with an R if they think that they are not fit for the job, don't have the whatever. They're just too discerning. And I think, well, that's good. In a lot of ways, it's also killing us in the national elections and how policy made and in the three. I mean, all the things I could go on for that. But that is the fundamental difference right there.
It's almost like you have to, even though it's the right thing, we have to realize this game that we're playing called politics. Sometimes you have to play by the rules that are dealt out there and not by maybe what we want to do. Even though we don't approve of that candidate, if we sit home, I can assure you we probably approve less of the other one that's going to take the office.
Well, I'm just going to say again, and I'm not saying that I'll work cheap, but if anybody in Washington is listening to this, I'm telling y'all need to hire me when y'all pick these idiots who y'all think need to be senators and congressmen and all this, and give me 30 minutes with each of them. I can tell y'all real quick if y'all that's the pony you need to ride or you need to find a different horse. It's not hard.
I'm aware. I've got one last current event. And Ryan, I believe Austin would be the gay capital of Texas. Would that be accurate?
I don't know if it's the gay capital of Texas, but it's the most liberal capital. It's the most liberal place in the Southwest, Southeast, South.
In general, it goes hand in outside of somebody like you, who I don't consider to be gay. You're just not. I think they go hand in hand.
What is several going on references to the contrary, sir, but I'm just not going to go there. But
let's go back to Austin. It looks like they're saying every few weeks now the people take the streets and they're street racing these cars, and it's just total chaos, anarchy. Did you hear anything about this?
No, so a friend of mine was in a livestock show. Friend texted me, and she's like, "Explain to me Austin." And I was like, "I don't go there. I can't explain shit to you about that place. I go for the stock show, or I used to go for the stock show all the time. Now, since I don't sell anything, I haven't been in." I mean, I went last year, but anyway, I mean, I have to be real bored or they're going to have to ask me to judge to go to Austin, not because I dislike the show. I think the show is very good. I think the sale's good and all these things. It's just, I hate that town. I really dislike Austin.
I get it. And I believe I was Austin last year. I don't know if Craig or I am. I don't know which one's going this year, but I'm with you. And I enjoy the show, but I do too. I don't like the town.
I do,
and a lot of people are choosing to move there. They really brag about it, and I'm just not there. If I'm going to move to Texas, it's going to be it's not to live in a place like Austin. I think Crockett would be a way better choice, and you're kind of hard.
Oh God, no, you don't want. You'll die here. But anyway, so you're missing out on all the fun things in current events, which is very depressing.
Oh well, go tell me. I'm wide open.
So Nikki Haley,
I had too.
Nikki Haley, who announced for president, she is using her brown skin color to support white supremacy. Can you explain that to me, please?
I can tell you that if you would not have informed me, and I should have probably known that she
Don Lemon and Whoopi Goldberg, by the way. That's who.
Yeah, I wouldn't
with
have.
With many others, but
I wouldn't have.
Two of the keys.
I wouldn't have looked at her and considered her brown skinned. Does that make sense?
I agree. She looks like a normal white woman. I'm not going to say she doesn't look like a normal white woman, but she, again, and we talked about this, Lisa, she says she doesn't believe in identity politics, but then she claims to be a minority female and all this other stuff, so she does. But now they're saying that, but how is she's to support white supremacy? I don't even know how that works.
You think that's a little bit of a stretch, maybe?
I think they've gone way past a stretch.
I wanted to bring up the polling. I did look it up right before we jumped on, and the most current polls have within the Republican primary, Republican voters, 42 on Trump, 36 DeSantis, 5 on your brown skin Miss Haley.
Mm-hmm. That's better than what she was when she announced. When she was announced, she was at 1.
So would you assume if she's not in the picture, where do those votes probably go?
That 5%. Well, DeSantis, it would go to DeSantis. Or I don't know because she's no.
And that puts him in a pretty dead heat if it does.
Here's the issue. Okay. So she has announced. That's fine. She's not going to win. She's just not. I know she thinks she is. She's not. But if DeSantis is going to do this, he's got to announce now. And I'm going to tell you why. Because there is about, I would say, very close number to 40% of Republicans that are going to vote for Trump regardless. I don't care if it's a primary. I don't care if it's, I think in a general, it's it's almost 100%. I don't know. But like when there is a strong 40% that are always Trumpers. Would you agree with that? Like never going to vote for anybody else if he's on the ballot.
You're not going to move those.
Right, you're not. That's 40%.
And I don't know the exact number, but approximately.
Right, approximately. Always Trumpers. If he doesn't announce now, then someone like Mike Pence, who's not going to win, is going to announce. Pompeo's going to announce. Sununu's already all but announced. All these people are going to get in this race. I mean, when Trump ran the first time, wasn't it 16?
I don't know the number.
I'm pretty sure it was 16. But anyway, 16 people. The more people that announce their candidacy and file and do all the things to be the Republican nominee for president in 2024, every single person that announces and DeSantis doesn't, he has a less and a less and a less and a less and a less chance of winning, because whether people want to like it or not, the reason DeSantis is popular is because he's just basically a person that Trump got into office, and he uses a lot of Trump's policies and stuff like that, and he hasn't made as many people mad, which that's why he's more electable in the general. But always Trumpers aren't going to switch to DeSantis. They're not. And so more and more people that get in this primary that just, he's going to keep his core and his base, Trump is, and all these other people are going to split the other votes in those primaries. And it's going to be, in my opinion, very, very hard for anybody else to win the nomination. And I don't care if you agree with that or not. That's just my...
Even though you concede he may not be the best general candidate.
I have never said he is going to be the best general election candidate. I have said I know who votes in primaries. Dale, how many primaries have you voted in?
I am not arguing with you on that.
Dale,
one.
how many primaries have you voted in?
I voted in all of them. All of them that I can remember.
I think you're lying, but...
No, I mean, I'm not saying I haven't missed one, but for the most part, all. Now, the problem is our state ones, it doesn't matter. It's usually just the national primaries.
I have voted in more primaries than I would say. I'm probably about 70-30 since I was 18 years old and able to vote in them. And I could not tell you other than you. My parents don't vote in primaries. I don't know. I bet I don't know, but a handful of people that vote in primaries.
I would agree. I don't know what the numbers are, but I think a lot of them are just, it is what it is, and we're going to vote probably Republican or Democrat, and definitely the Democrat side would just go that direction. But yeah, I'm not sure. But the diehard Trumpers will. I agree with you 100%.
Oh, they're going to turn out.
I'm not arguing that at all.
And so the more people that get in this race, the harder it is for anybody to beat him. And I think if DeSantis would just go out and announce now, yes, I'm running for president, then the Pompeos, the Pences, the Sununus, all those other people, yeah, I ain't doing it. And then it's just a 3-horse race with one of those horses being Nikki Haley, who's more like a Shetland.
And maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason the others haven't announced, waiting to see if he comes in or not. I don't know. I know that
they ain't gonna wait much longer.
It appears as though, I agree. They claim he's waiting to do a lot of legislative acts in Florida, push a lot of things through, so he can, when they ask him about how does your policy differ from Trump, I think he's going to talk about how he can work with people within the Republican Party and give them A, B, C, D, E. Here's all the bills that were passed or laws passed in the recent history here in Florida. But I don't know. I'm with you. It's getting late, very, very late. Either way, he's posturing himself very well to either run or bring enough attention to himself that maybe he doesn't run, but he's in a good position to go forward next time.
Well, I have said
I don't know what the best options may be to pull out and just wait.
Well, there's no pulling out because he has announced, but I'm just telling you, and I caught some flack for this, but if I am Ron DeSantis or I am anybody on Ron DeSantis' team, he waits because he can finish out his term for governor, do all these things. He's only like 45, I think. Do all these things for Florida, yada, yada, yada. As soon as he gives up the governorship, he starts running for president. It's the smart move. Now, again, he's got momentum, he's got this, he's got that, but it's the smart move because he doesn't get banged up. And most importantly, if he loses the Republican primary race, that is not good for the future.
No, I'm with you. I agree. Yeah, I agree.
But
I'm with you on this one.
But again,
as long as you come with me on my war against China. Is that fair enough?
There you go. We're back to China.
Oh. Okay, we are. I apologize we went long, but some people will enjoy it. Others wish. Well, let's just get to the main topic. Just hit fast forward. Just go through the current events if you don't want to hear it.
I'm so tired of those people that say that. And again,
I don't get much of that anymore.
I don't get it either. So again, like I know I get more people saying please keep current events than not. And again, I realize that this is a livestock podcast, but there is still stuff outside of the livestock show ring that affects us. And that is the world. And so, yeah, if you don't like the current events, then fast forward through them or don't listen. I don't care. I'm over it.
I'm with you, Ryan. We need to at least be aware. I'm not saying they all need to watch the news or follow it like you and I, but at least be aware of the bigger picture because it's important, especially right now.
Mm-hmm.
What about BTR JLA? Any news?
Oh, yes. So I want to thank our first. And I do, like I told you last week, we have several sponsors that have already signed up for 2023. We need more, and I'll talk about that. But today on social media, I announced that the first national corporate sponsor for 2 years in a row, and our only corporate sponsor so far for 2023, is Showcoat Solutions. And we thank them for their support in 22 and also again here in 2023. Showcoat is a champion approved for years. Showcoat manufactures the best award-winning livestock grooming products for show cattle, goats, horses, sheep, and swine. No matter whether you are in the country, no matter where you are in the country, no matter what species you have in the barn, if you're looking for the winning edge, the advanced shag strategy developed and is only by Showcoat Solutions will change your hair growth routine overnight. They give step-by-step instructions, partnered with free product applications, videos, and they have game-changing customer service, and they will have you wondering why you hadn't tried the highest quality, all-natural products in the industry before. They invest in the junior livestock industry in all portions. This is a great product. They really, really do believe in it, and they also believe in the families and the kids that use their product, and we thank them greatly for their generous support. So wait no more and check out Show Solutions products on showcoat.com.
And before we go any further, I want to insert that you know where I'm at on a lot of supplements, right? I'm not a huge fan. I think I've made that public.
Yes.
But guess what? We have Showcoat in our barn, and I can't find anything. We use it because I believe it conditions the hair well, and I believe it is perfect for helping us train the hair on both the cattle and the goats. So I'm completely on board.
No, so thank you, Showcoat. As far as if you would like to be a sponsor, there's different levels of sponsorship. There's national corporate sponsorship that gets you 5 podcast ads. It gets you social media spots. We also have national sponsors for all the species. We have a top 10 award sponsors. We have jacket sponsors. All of those will get you 2 ad spots. We have regional sponsors for every species in the 5 different regions that will get you 1 ad spot. And so if you're interested in sponsorship, please contact me at My phone number is on the website, 979-229-1549. Email me, Facebook message me. Be glad to talk to you about different levels of sponsorship to support the kids of the BTRJLA. And again, people are still getting their national awards, their buckles. We are still working on getting the regional and state awards out, but we hope to have those all wrapped up by the end of the month. I cannot make an absolute promise because I'm telling you, I'm sitting here in my house and not my house because I don't have a house anymore right now, but I'm sitting here in Cherie and Daddy James' house. And this weekend, I packaged myself over 300 regional awards for just 2 of the 6 regions, and we're getting those shipped out, and we've got more to come. But again, it's just a process when you give out this many awards, but we are working on it. We hope to have them all out by the end of the month. And again, we didn't even have points officially final till mid-January. I did also talk to the jacket man for you 40 kids that are getting jackets that were the top 10 overall in your species, and he thinks that he will have them to me in the next 2 weeks, because when I put the order in after we got the points finalized, he said 6 to 8 weeks, so that would be right around March. And I did call him today to get an update, and my contact at Jackets for All did say that they hope to have them to us by March 1. Now, I will also tell you that if they get here at March 1, I'm going to be in the middle of 3 weeks of the Houston Livestock Show. And again, I'm kind of a one-man pony on this, so I will do my best, but they are coming. And I'm telling you, y'all are going to be really impressed when you see these jackets, because they are something. They're expensive, but they are really, really very, very cool.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah, and join your kid up for BTRJLA and sanction. There you go. Those things.
And Ryan, I continue to get texts and messages on the kids getting those awards. They're so excited about it, and we appreciate the effort that you're putting in to get those, everything from the process, getting the sponsorship, getting them out, all the above. So thank you for that. And once again, I'm going to remind everyone the relationship between success and hydration. ShowFresh H2O has this under control. If you do not want to haul water to the show, use ShowFresh H2O. It will neutralize the chlorine. This, in turn, will boost water consumption on most show stock. It is a small investment relative to the time and effort put forth to make your show animal look the part. Do not overlook the obvious. ShowFresh H2O can be purchased at your local supply trailer or at swampfox.com. Thank you for the sponsorship. It is time. And we can say, Ryan, you came up with this topic a few hours ago, basically.
No, that is not true. I came up with this topic a couple months ago, but it wasn't on the list, but I did talk to you about it. But again, I don't think he really listens to anything I say anymore, so.
I can't say I don't remember. I think that
you have
you bring
very,
it up,
very
I
much
vaguely
selective
remember.
hearing. Very, very much.
My wife would agree with you 100%. I am guilty.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's a great topic. But did I not jump completely on board thinking this is really good? Absolutely, really, really good. One and the same. Ryan, you want to explain it? The title.
I was just one day, again, I don't remember when exactly, but a couple months ago, I was just thinking about things that work for humans and animals and vice versa. And so I thought this would be a topic that would spark a little interest and also cause a little, maybe some chaos, some conversation, all the things that we try to do here. But I think that people will be surprised all the different things that work not only for our show animals, but also for human beings.
Excellent. I will go on record, and again, there are exceptions, but I've told people I can get 80% of what I need to feed and manage show livestock where, Ryan?
In the show barn?
The local Walmart.
I thought it was in the show barn. Darn.
It sounds crazy. But I don't know where to start. Shampoos, conditioners. I mean, that's easy. Speaking of that, here's a product. I don't think humans ever use this. Do you remember and maybe we've talked about this, the old cattle soap, Orvis?
What?
Do you remember the old cattle soap, the Orvis? It comes in a little, I'm sure you remember using this.
Orvis?
It was the brand name Orvis. It was actually used heavily in cattle years and years ago. I think everybody was using it one time. It was actually, I believe, a carpet type shampoo, but it had to strip every oil out of the hair and skin you could possibly imagine. But that was at one point. I think most people thought that was developed for livestock, but no, just a carpet shampoo that was marketed well.
Huh. The oldest thing that I remember, I wasn't even show age, and I mean, it's not something, whatever. I remember when they used to put something called Gojo on pigs to clean pigs, I think. It looked like, I don't know, it looked like glue to me. But anyway.
You would put them on the night before, and the only problem with it was if you didn't get every spot of that pig covered. I mean, it did such a good job of cleaning that hide up and taking everything off of there that if you missed a spot, it was usually pretty evident. But no, that was very, very popular. That's interesting. That was a long time ago, Ryan. You're aging yourself.
I was not old enough to show, sir. I'm just telling you, I remember people doing this.
I think,
but I don't remember Orvis. I'm sorry.
You really don't. Now that would have been before. I mean, it's probably a reason. I
don't remember
Orvis. Plenty of listeners out there that remember Orvis. Maybe I'm being delusional here, but I remember that very, very clearly in my high school era. What about mane and tail?
I know. I was going to say
animals to people.
No, I was going to say no. I have bought plenty of mane and tail in my life to use as a conditioner again, and like
for yourself.
No, for the animals. Oh God, no, not for me. No,
okay,
no.
People do though.
Oh yeah, there's some people that swear by it. I don't, but some people swear. By it.
I think you find it in like Walmarts and some of those kind of stores even.
Oh no, that's where we bought mane and tail for years and years and years, was in Walmart, like for real. But also, like, again, and I don't want you to think that we just use dish soap, but like my whole life, it has been like a concoction of Joy soap and other things that we use to shampoo and clean and all this other stuff. So again, I mean, we would put some other stuff in it and some human type soap and all this other stuff, but Joy has been a big part of the washing. So, and, but I, other than, just things like that for washing and mane and tail and stuff like that, I think of things like melatonin. We use that a lot for hair growth, but humans buy melatonin pills at Walmart all the time for the same principle.
And even for helping you sleep at night, all the above. And melatonin's been.
It helps you sleep at night. I need to go load up. Yeah, I didn't know it helps you.
What it's doing is making your brain believe it's dark out. So that's where the sleep part comes in, and that's where the hair growth part comes in. That I don't know how much extra hair it grows. I think when you shut the daylight off, they assume it's winter, obviously. But I'm pretty comfortable stating that we can prolong that hair cycle. In other words, if we're coming into spring where daylight becomes longer, we can block that with melatonin. But I want to caution everybody, if you're giving it in a pill form or drenching it in your lambs or goats or whatever, not the implant form, don't start that unless you fully intend to use it every single day. Because if you have them on melatonin for 30 days and all of a sudden you miss a few days, guess what you've just done? You've just started that hair cycle, because it's gone from vast darkness to all of a sudden here's 12 hours plus of daylight. The assumption by that animal's body biochemically responding is, wow, we're coming into spring or summer. We need to shed some of this hair coat. So be careful. I caution that. And there's some stuff coming out right now. They're not completely sold on some of the side effects in humans. I don't know that there is or isn't, but there is some news out there on that. I suggest you try it, Ryan, every night.
If melatonin, look, I'm just telling you, the only time I ever slept in my life was when I was a child and I didn't know better. My mother used to drug me with like 4 Benadryl every night. So, um,
I never believed that at first, but I do now. I do believe that she did that to you.
oh, she absolutely did. She'll admit it.
And you know what? And not only do I believe she did it to you, I'll just say it. I'm in favor of what she did. I'm okay. I see it. I understand. I'm okay with it.
Of course she would be.
Other products. We use something commonly if we have some fungus issues. Usually it's a ringworm in the goats, and even used a little bit in lambs is some of the different athlete's foot fungal products that are designed for humans. And there's lots of home-made remedies and lots of different things out there for ringworm. And Ryan, I think you've mentioned a couple things that you guys use. I think there's a multitude of things that work, but we have had some success with that. Now, some of these things we're talking about are not approved for animals for food consumption. So we're, in full disclosure, Ryan, we are not recommending any of this, correct?
I'm not recommending anything. I'm just talking about things that people do.
There, that's better. That's a great way to put it. Great way to put it. I can also throw in there another one. Anytime I'm at a Dollar General, I'm usually in the little aisle. I'll make a side tour to go over and check out the hairbrushes. The 99-cent hairbrushes that we can use on the goat legs. And those human brushes work fantastic for goat hair. Absolutely fantastic. I'm all in on those.
Okay, well, like, seriously, if you'll look at the majority of the combs and stuff, especially in the cattle, I mean, which I think the combs are kind of basically all species now, since, we even fit pigs to some degree. But like, okay, like the round roller comb that whatever, that's been used by women and people for years and years and years. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
I do.
Yeah. I mean, that's
I mean, and the livestock side's been relatively recent.
No, yeah, it's recent to that. It's recent to the livestock world, but I'm telling you, that exact style, that exact same brush has been in any beauty or beauty section of any Walmart, Kroger, Kmart, whatever you want to do since the earth cooled, pretty much. I mean, the first time I ever saw one of those on a Scotch comb handle, I was like, really? But I mean, there you go.
No, I get it. We can sidetrack here into something that's maybe not going to be as well received, but it's happening. What about our bodybuilders and some of our human athletes using some beta agonists such as Paline or Zilmax or even clenbuterol? Is there some crossover there, Ryan?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt that some of those competitive bodybuilders use some of the same things. I mean, that people in livestock shows have used before. I mean, that's just facts, whether you want to admit it or not.
And obviously none of it approved, and I'm sure there's some side effects that are pretty serious. So please do not, I'm going to go out there very strongly, do not consume Paline, do not consume Zilmax, do not consume clenbuterol, because I am very, very confident at some point in your life that is going to cause issues. No question. It will.
I'm not condoning any of these things. I'm just telling people that it happens. Just like
Ryan, you talked about.
Go ahead.
You talked about using Joy. I think and maybe it's just a Midwest thing. A lot of the cattle guys, especially the first couple times they bring the calves in, will go to Dawn, just straight Dawn to wash with. But I caution using it too much for taking all the oil out of the skin and the hair, as I think that's a degreaser. That's what it's meant to do. So I think that's why it is very effective on that first wash or show, getting things all cleaned up. But be careful. I don't know that I'd use it routinely.
Right. Well, you were talking about, bodybuilders using some of the beta agonists or whatever, like that, whether it's been approved or not approved on either side, human or animal, it happens. How many people do you know that take Banamine? I'm telling you, I know a lot. A lot.
Have you ever tried it?
I have not, but I don't I don't
have
have
not either, but
joint
I'm with you.
problems
There's
yet,
a
but
lot. There's a lot of people that do. I'm with you, and I don't know. I'm not saying it's not safe or is. I just don't know.
I guarantee you, they tell me it makes them feel a whole hell of a lot better. I'm not gonna lie, but
I I don't doubt that.
I
I'm
don't
sure
know if
some of the
there's any
ketamine we
long
use
term
would do the same.
lasting effects of that stuff either. It could be, very terrible for one of your internal organs, but I'm telling you, I don't care what barn, what species you're in. There is plenty of people in the show barns every morning that are taking a little nip of Banamine or something to get through the day. And that's just how it is, folks.
And I'm sure we've got listeners out there some on the biochemistry side or veterinarians that can tell it's gonna screw with either your liver or kidney. I couldn't tell you which one off the top of my head without digging into it a little bit, but it's going to have an impact, is my assumption. If it wouldn't, it's so good at what it does, it would be on the human side. If it didn't have issues, that's too simple. Way too simple. I think it probably does wonders for some people's joints, muscle, everything, all the above. Speaking of bodybuilders, Ryan, I'm going to go down another path here, a little bit different maybe. But think about animal nutrition and bodybuilders or muscle building. And I studied a lot, and I am not a bodybuilder, and I'm in the worst shape of my life, and never ever dreamed of being one. But I've communicated a lot with bodybuilders to try to learn how to build more muscle organically on livestock without the use of your clenbuterols and beta agonists and so forth. And with that in mind, the basic concept is to tear muscle fibers, just like when they're lifting extremely heavy weights, then provide an environment that is conducive for muscle repair. And that would be supplying the body with the amino acids needed in the right levels or above what is needed. And the rest will just be wasted out through your urine, but we want to at least get to that level. Each time muscle fibers are repaired, they increase in size, increasing that muscle mass. So it's simple. If you want to work muscle so hard it's damaged a bit, and then give the nutrients required for the best possible recovery on that, and some bodybuilders say, well, only work certain muscle groups every 48 hours. I found in goats and sheep anyway, that recovery is probably a little bit quicker than that. And I think it's going to be a little off, so you could probably push that envelope, but we don't want to continue to tear muscle, and not allow it to repair, because then we're going downhill. But the right balance of working that muscle really hard, allowing it to recover, and continuing that process will build mass over time. In swine families, listen up on this one, because the digestive tract of a pig or a show pig is very, very similar to a human, both monogastrics. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, even to the point where we're working with transgenic pigs to harvest organs from pigs and put them into humans. I mean, there's a lot of similarities there. We just talk about the pig being the horizontal human in terms of biologically speaking. So when you think about how similar, you can almost take that exact protocol that a bodybuilder would use and apply it to a pig. I can remember long ago helping a family with show pigs before Paline came around. There was two things that I did, and it was following the bodybuilder protocols. How do you get a pig to lift weights? I couldn't come up with anything. I thought about ankle weights. I thought about a lot of things, but there was no way to create that kind of resistance that you can get working out in the gym. So we brought in dozens of loads of limestone and built this monster hill that was really steep on a couple sides, and would force those pigs to walk up it. And they were truly cramping those muscles by the time they got to the top of that. And then we would come back down and make sure that they had a diet that was rich in amino acids. If we think about it this way, Ryan, think about a bodybuilder's diet and think about what the traditional pig diet is. They're vastly, vastly different, even though sometimes we're trying to achieve the same in-game and building mass and in terms of muscle, even though now we do put a little more fat on them because we can fool the judges with shaping that fat a little bit. But go back to this original. We have a pig diet that is primarily corn and soybean meal, all vegetable matter. You have a bodybuilder diet. You know any bodybuilders that are successful and they are also vegetarians? No way, no how. Doesn't happen. They're going to have protein shakes. They're going to have a high protein diet, because that's where our best source of amino acids are. So if we have these pigs and we're cramping those muscles, provide a diet with biologically available protein, and that leads you to a fish meal, a blood meal, or raw eggs. And at one point, I developed a diet that was corn based, which almost all hog diets are. And I pulled the soybean meal completely out of it because that was your vegetable source of protein, which works to a certain degree. Replace that all with animal protein, and all of a sudden you have pigs that look like you're feeding them Paline just because you took them from a vegetarian diet to a somewhat animal protein based diet. And it's huge. It's the same thing that we see in the bodybuilders. So when we talk about one and the same, I think pigs and humans, you can steal a lot of things, not just supplements and products, but you can think about it from an animal nutrition standpoint. And I think you can really take a lot from that. Be careful, the small ruminants, the sheep and the goats and the cattle people, because there's one thing different about that. We have a rumen involved, and those rumens love to break down the high quality, or what we call the expensive amino acids. And it doesn't work on a commercial level, but in the show ring, we can still feed some raw eggs, whatever we deem animal protein source that is legal to feed, and it still becomes a great protein source. They're going to waste a lot of it, and it's going to be a little more expensive than the vegetable protein, but it still works in this a similar concept, maybe not as correlated as, say, a pig would be, but it's still good. So that's where a lot, when Ryan, when you came up with this topic, that came to my mind heavily, that, wow, here's something that we can directly correlate from humans to animals. And I don't think a lot of show families think about it that way, but it's a very logical way to look at things. That's enough of my rant. I apologize.
Sir, can I ask one thing?
Sure.
Do you know how much eggs are right now?
I was going to say something about it. Used to be a very cheap source of protein. It is
not so cheap no more.
But I think it's better. Like the bodybuilders go out and use those big protein shakes. I still think it's cheaper than that. And the egg is the best most biologically available source of amino acids, period. I think eggs can do wonders if you're trying to build muscle, but it all has to be in proportion. We can't get our diet out of whack from a calcium phosphorus ratio and things like that. But there's a lot of benefit there. And eggs are not. I'm going to say they're $5 or $6 a dozen is my guess. I really don't know.
No.
Much more expensive than they were.
No, I don't know.
Another
like
disclosure,
eggs,
right?
So.
I'm saying I'm not telling people to feed raw eggs because everybody tells me if we feed raw eggs, you're going to get some salmonella issues. We have fed them for decades and we've had no issues. But I am not promoting the feeding of raw eggs. I'm going to keep us on a legally safe path here.
Again, I'm not promoting anything other than you must love your show animal a whole lot to feed them eggs right now because they're very expensive. I'm glad I don't like eggs, but my parents love the eggs and they have like 4 every morning. I don't know. It's wreck. But
I'm good and I have to say I prefer our we have a lady locally that raises some chickens and I prefer the brown eggs with a darker yolk. Maybe it's just a mental thing, but I'm not a big fan of the white eggs anymore. And the brown eggs in the store, they cost even more yet.
No,
probably no difference, but in my head there is.
Anyway, so you were talking about that and all these other things, and again, we've talked about stuff that you can buy at Walmart for hair and melatonin pills. We've talked about some drugs that, again, we're not promoting any of these things that cross over for human, whatever, all this other stuff. We haven't talked about exercise, but you know what? It works for both. And I guess one of the things that I find so interesting is that, especially in sheep and goats now, is that one of the big deals is on the treadmills, how long you make the sheep and goats go in reverse or go the normal way and all this other stuff. And that's exactly the same in human beings. Like there are trainers and stuff like that make you go so long in reverse on a treadmill and all these step climbers and all these other torture devices that are in these gyms. And so the first time that I ever heard about that, I thought, you know what? We do the same thing in sheep and goats.
No, it's very similar concept. And I think if you break it down to cardio versus muscle work, if we run them forward on the treadmill, we're burning calories. We're probably not building a lot of muscle. But if you put them in a situation where they are having to strain hard and work those muscles, where they cramp up, once they're cramping up, you know you've done some good. We're getting there. Now it's time to repair those. So you're exactly right. My big puzzle, just like building that giant limestone hill for hogs, is how do you can't force an animal to lift weights. That's the easy, logical way that a human is going to damage muscle fibers, allow them to repair and come back larger. But wrap your head around the unique ways, and you've really got to think outside the box, outside of a treadmill and a few other things. But I do want to emphasize to a lot of families out there, they think, well, we've got a treadmill, so we're going to build muscle. I do not believe we're building a lot of muscle by running forward on the treadmill, unless you're just, flat out, it's really cranking, and maybe under those scenarios, maybe.
But again, and also on, we talk about pigs that have to have endurance to stay out in a class at those state fairs and national shows sometimes. If you're making it to the end, you're going to get pinned and have some downtime and stuff like that. You have to build up endurance. And it's the same way, whether you have a trainer or you're doing stuff in a gym. You start out so many minutes and then you continue to build and build and build. And so the principles and the concept, again, very similar in how we exercise ourselves as human beings and also our show stock, whether it is on a treadmill or for endurance or, all the different things.
No, and I'm not, I hope that people look at it that way, and I'm not so sure that everybody does. But a lot of things you just apply what works on the human side, and you can take a lot of that's already proven and go right into your show stock. It just works. And I think there's lots of crossover there that we can gain from. You just need to think out of the box a little bit sometimes on how to adapt that animal to put it in that situation. Just to maybe a little difficult, but can be done. And anything else you can think of, Ryan?
Well, no. And again, we've stated this several times. We're not, telling anybody to do this. We're just talking about people that we know and experiences and people that do things and all this other stuff. But I also don't want everyone to think that they can go out and, buy all their supplies and all the things that they can for everything livestock show oriented at Walmart. Like you said, you didn't say all, but you said a lot.
80%. 80%.
Because there are still a lot of things that you cannot purchase at Walmart that you have to be successful and stuff like that. And again, everybody's seen my hair and we know it does not move ever. But I'm telling you, even the hairspray I use isn't going to help you pull a leg on a stair heifer. So, there are still things that are specifically designed for livestock that you also need to be successful. But I do think the crossover was a very interesting thing, and I think there's a lot more of it that most people think in terms of stuff that you can buy when you're shopping for you, that you can buy for your livestock project, or things that, again, I'm not saying this is the thing to do, but a lot of people find that things that work on livestock work for the human body as well.
Exactly. And I want to also jump on that bandwagon a little bit. Agree completely. There's a lot of great livestock supplies out there, period. They're designed for livestock. Maybe it was copied from something on the human side, but it's simple, it works, it's available, all of those things. What I want to stress more, rather than sending you to Walmart to buy everything, is I want you to just stop and think about everything that you're doing and every product that you're using and make sure it has a true purpose, and not only has a purpose that you read on the label, but you understand how that is possible, that those ingredients come together to do whatever they do, or that equipment is going to make something better, easier to train hair, or whatever it may be. I want to make sure you're doing things for a purpose. I want to make sure that you understand that purpose and understand why, not just because a label told you to, or somebody down the road was using it so you thought you should. Every single step of the way, think about it. And if you need to compare it to humans and how it would impact a human, do it that way. Do it. Take whatever means you can. Get online, research it, ask as many people as you can, but not in a manner that oh, well, such and such use this, so I'm going to use it, but I have no idea how it's actually working or why it works. We need to educate ourselves a little bit more, and I think we'll become better feeders and managers of livestock if we put more thought into those things and once again go back to it needs to be done for a purpose.
There you go.
Ryan, it's time.
Uh-huh.
It is time for your favorite portion. You thought I'd forget today, didn't you?
You know what?
And I pulled these up a while. I mean, I spent like at least 5 minutes pulling these up.
Oh, that's a lot of time. So I am going to say that I think that somebody should sponsor the question and answer session of this podcast because it is literally the bane of my existence. And I think if we don't get a sponsor, then I think we should just do away with it.
We've never really asked for a sponsor for it, but I don't get it. That's fine. If somebody would like to do that and put you into more pain, I would even give them some input on questions if it were to cause you mental stress.
Even more pain and trauma. Yes.
More
but
pain
this sponsorship would go to the BTRJLA since I'm the one that has not to. Clifton's already getting paid. This sponsorship would go to the BTRJLA of it all. Otherwise, I think we should.
Are you ready?
Question and answer is not something that we need.
These are not hard. I don't think these are not.
You say that every week, and then you don't
easy.
Get the hate mail.
Okay, Steven has a question. The feed companies promote. Hey, this fits.
Were you supposed to use Steven's name?
Yeah, it's okay. He didn't. None of these said I couldn't use the names. This is going to relate to the BTRJLA a little bit. The feed companies promote winning a jacket or a vest. So if you win a big hog or sheep show, some feed company is likely to give you a lightweight jacket or a vest or something that says state or national level on it or highlights the show that you won. I think is what he's getting at. So you fill out a form, you send it in, the custom jacket comes back as champion market hog. They put down Lidner's or ShowRite. They're just giving examples of companies that are doing some of these things. And I think a lot of feed companies are doing this. His question part of this is, do you believe it's tacky or frowned upon to wear that jacket in a show ring if it's cold out and you need a jacket? In other words, I think he's asking, is it okay to wear, you see a lot of buckles. I don't know that I've seen a lot of jackets on kids in the show ring that are promoting the head champion, this or that somewhere. But I think he wants your thoughts on it, Ryan.
I'm going to tell you my thoughts on this right here. This is just like, I mean, most kids wear a belt buckle, whatever. There's a bunch of people that have and again, this may not be an issue anywhere else, but in Texas at the major shows, we have this rule. Like a lot of people have personalized harnesses, especially in cattle, that have their name or have their, ranch logo, name on them, all this other stuff. Well, in Texas, if you're going to wear that, they're going to put black tape over it. So, Billy can't be identified. The same concept with the jacket. This is what I'm going to tell you people. If whoever is standing out in that ring, man, woman, or whatever else you want to identify out, sorting that show, is reading the jacket, the buckle, or the harness instead of evaluating the animal, that's the real problem. Not that the kid wore a jacket when it's cold.
I would agree completely with that. Absolutely and completely. So even a belt buckle, they're not taping over belt buckles at the majors.
No, but I'm telling you, on those harnesses, this is a real thing in the state of Texas at major shows. If your name or anything like that is on there, like you can't have a brand logo on your shirt or on your harness or your name, or they will tape over it. I swear to you.
No, I believe that.
If they catch it. And again,
so what about one of these? What do you call the jackets for the BTRJLA? The national jacket?
It's for the top.
The ones you sent me. Just sent me pictures.
But there's just the national top 10 in each species. I mean, again, I think the real problem is that is going to get you further in the show ring. It's that sorter's lack of competence or the fact that they can be influenced by a jacket that they don't even know if that's that kid's jacket or not. They could have borrowed it. That is just, literally dumb. Now, I am also going to say one other thing before you give the follow-up. I am going to say one other thing. And I have been raised different. I am different. We know all these things. I have shown in almost sub-zero temperatures, and I never wore a jacket in a show ring. And that's just it. Now, I mean, my mother was absolutely Hitler on that. It just was not going to happen. Now, I'm telling you, I have judged in coats and whatever, and it doesn't bother me. I am never going to place a kid differently in an actual show if they have on a coat or anything like that. In showmanship, it might be a little bit of an issue for me and stuff like that, but I am just telling you, if Cherie Clooney Rash Caraba Bright was involved, and said no. I mean, I'm telling you, this woman sent me out with a 901 degree temperature and basically pneumonia at the Fall Classic in Austin, Texas one year with no coat on. So
I love that lady.
I know.
Okay, are you saying, I want to clarify this. Are there judges out there sorting shows that have the lack of confidence needed that jacket would influence them?
Oh, I'm sure there probably are, more than I want to admit. But I mean, again, that's the real problem, not that the kid wore a jacket. That's the true issue.
I agree completely. Yes, it is. That's exactly where I was going with it. The next one is from Justin. Question for the Brain Trust. That must be you. I have heard judges talk about the hip-loin transition. Can you explain what a good hip-loin transition is for market goats / lambs, what it feels like? Thank you for all you guys do.
Okay, so
just told you this was easy. You got this.
See, I don't think it is easy because I think it means something different. I think it can vary from judge to judge on what they think. I mean, the area of the body is the same. Don't get me wrong on that. But what they consider to be the correct transition, I think that can vary. And let me tell you why. Because one of, and I think it's dying down, but there for a little bit, there was this trend that and I can't describe this as any, in sheep specifically, like the hip would go almost up at an angle. Do you know what I'm saying, Dale?
Yeah, I know it. No, I know it. We're talking back about that in the jump muscle.
Yeah, I mean, like it would. I mean, it's just, and then they would call that thing level hipped and whatever. And I would not think it's level hipped at all because it wasn't. But I think when I talk about that transition, I basically don't want to be able to tell that there is a transition. Does that make sense to you, Dale?
Yes, and that's where I'm at. And again, it's not natural for an animal. It just isn't. But maybe that's why we like it, because it's very unique.
Yeah, but when I talk about one who is not as seamless in that transition, or that one is whatever, it is almost that I can't even tell where that transition is. But that is me. Other sorters may see it differently. And so, but when I talk about that in any species, that's what I'm talking about. What a good one is for me is one that you can't detect the transition.
Agreed. And I can maybe help.
Or it's or more difficult to detect, I guess, because you can. Anyway.
Yep. And exactly what I'm talking about. And we can use an example with pigs. It used to be old school Duroc hogs would come back, and the lean ones back even in the positive stress days, we'd come back with a big, I mean, pretty big top in them. You come back to the loin, it would indent a little into the loin, but more so that loin would come back and then you'd explode into this monster hip. So where you went from the loin to the hip, it was a huge difference in terms of width and transitioning there. You can think about a lamb or a goat, when we get back to that last rib where the loin truly starts, where we have no skeletal structure coming over the side of the bodies. And we usually go, that rib sticks up there, and we can kind of confuse that as giving us more top or a bigger top and alluding to that being muscle. Maybe there's a little muscle laid over top of that rib. But as you come back handling that lamb or goat from its rack into the center of its top and back finally into its loin, if we come in at the loin and then particularly are smaller in their loin than proportional to the hip, we call that, I'd like to make them a little better in that transition, where Ryan says, if we can run our hand down them, and just today I had a family here visiting that was asking something similar on one of the goats, or is that one transitioned well enough? And I assume that's what they're talking about. And we get up on the goat, and there's not many that do it, where you can go from that rack down their top through their loin to their hip, and there's no indent. Can you envision that one, Ryan? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
and that's it. And nature says they aren't made this way, guys. I'm just telling you. Can we breed them to be that way? We can, but I promise you, in the goat world, there are very few that are naturally that way. When I say very few, and that the top end goat producers, we're talking about less than 10% are going to come out that way, probably far less. And I'm going to go a little negative, just a little bit, and it's just about transparency and the truth. A lot of these that aren't quite perfect there, Ryan, they're going to be fixed possibly the night before the show with unethical practices to make them transition perfect. And that's why in the show that we will have a far higher percentage that transition well there than are what actually are born and are genetically that way. Not trying to be, I'm not trying to say it isn't possible, but it's hard. It's very difficult to do that organically.
No, you're exactly right.
Justin, that's a good question. I think that there a lot of judges talk about it, and we talk about seamless, and I like it. I want them to be seamless through there. It has no true relevance other than we seem to like it as a judge. It's unique. It's hard to make. So there's reasons for it. It helps you separate the really good ones from the rest of them. That's one more thing we can look at. Colton sends us the next question. Hey, I love the podcast. I was wondering, do you think an American steer can ever win Grand or Reserve at a Texas major like Houston, San Antonio, or Fort Worth? Also, what breed was the best American steer you've ever seen? Ryan, this question obviously is not for me. I have judged very few American steers, even though I very much enjoy it. This is all you.
Well, there have been 3 American steers for Grand or Reserve been reserve, at Texas major shows. It may be more than that. I know 3. There was a Brahman that was reserve Grand at Houston. There was a Simbra that was reserve Grand at San Antonio. Callie Ellis had an Simbra steer of mine that was reserve Grand at Austin. Oh, there was an American steer that was reserve Grand at Fort Worth several years ago. So and I knew I was missing one, and there may be more than that, to be honest with you, but I know of those 4 right there. There's not one that's won Grand overall yet, but I think it's possible. I think if you ever get somebody in there who has just absolutely no bias at all, and has studied this as much as many of us have here in the Texas major shows and stuff like that, you cannot tell me that those, I think, not saying bias, but someone that truly judges each animal to which one would be the most competitive for their breed, etc., then I think they'll continue to do well, and I think eventually one will be Grand overall. But again, talking at a Fort Worth, a haired major, and I know 3 slick, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin, 3 slick ones where an American steer has been reserve Grand already.
No, and I assume so. I think that the issue there is, and it's a philosophy, and I know where you stand. You just stated it, that if they truly judge where that animal fits in within that category, I'm not even going to say breed, but within that classification category and or breed, if you're up here, it should almost be proportional on the different breeds all ending up in the champion spot, and I don't think it is, but in theory it could be. Yes. I think a lot of judges are still looking for what they consider the ideal rather than considering how good is that one within the breed. And we've talked about this. We can argue about it forever. I don't have a strong opinion either way on what others are doing, because that's up to them.
Right.
But no, I bet there's been, you would know before, and you would be the leading expert, I think, on this. And when I read the question or pulled it up, I thought, well, there surely has to have been. I couldn't have cited any examples at all, but I would have.
And if I left anybody out, I am sorry, but I don't.
Yeah, I would have guessed more than that even.
No, it's only a handful.
It's hard.
I may have left somebody out, and if I did, I'm very sorry. But I knew there was 4 that I could think of, and I was just forgetting the one at Fort Worth there for a second, but it came back to me. But I know those 4. And again, if I forgot somebody else, I am terribly sorry, but I do know those 4.
And I would say and I can put myself in the example and the few slick steers that I've had the opportunity to judge. When you're coming from the north, especially into something as big as a Texas major, and maybe you've not even done a jackpot with slick steers at them, and then throw the Americans in addition, which they haven't looked at a lot of them, that's going to make it hard for them to grab a hold of something like that because there's been such limited exposure on the American side, let alone just coming into a world of slick cattle. So it's going to have to be somebody to grab for that grand. I think somebody that's very comfortable and has kind of been in the trenches and understands what the good Americans truly look like and where they fit within the whole American thing. Otherwise, I think they're going to be appreciated, but I don't see a northern judge that hasn't sorted a lot of them grabbing hold of one.
Right.
That's all we have. A little long, but not terrible.
Shocked.
That's a good topic, Ryan. Thank you. Good topic. Until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?